the DraftKings Daily Trot. I'm Jason Gilbo, JGilbo11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J. Clay. Taking a look at a Sunday slate here, 11 games. And as far as pitching goes, kind of limited. I mean, there are some names out there, but definitely in spots where it's not the most ideal matchup.
It's awkward out there, that's for sure. We'll get through this, though, right?
Oh, we'll definitely get through it. We'll definitely get through it.
We're going to get through this, right, Jason?
Blue Jays and Indians here first. Corey Kluber versus Marcus Stroman. And Indians minus 160 favorite. Kluber obviously one of the top arms on the slate. Mm-hmm. And even though they're facing the Blue Jays, I really don't mind Kluber. For what this Blue Jays offense has been doing of late, near a 25% strikeout rate in the second half. Kluber has been just as dominant in the second half as he was in the first. I really don't mind him in all formats.
And again, even if Donaldson does play, he kind of banged up that finger, like that hand. So I'm not sure even if he does play how much of a rhythm he's going to be in, because obviously it held him out one game. So even if he does play, he's probably not going to be 100%. So without him, without Batista, it does take a little bit out of this Blue Jays lineup. So I do like Kluber. I'd say he's a cash game play for me.
Yeah, I think just due to the other options on the slate, it makes Kluber playable in cash games. I think if we had some other options that we felt more comfortable using, sure. But in the sense of this slate alone, he's a cash game play.
Definitely.
With that being said, I'm not really looking at Blue Jays there. I think if the slate's big enough for me to kind of go elsewhere. And in this game alone, I mean, I'm not particularly on just because the Indians' prices aren't really friendly either.
Yeah. I mean, I want to say I like Encarnacion because he's at 4K. But, yeah, against Kluber, you just can't. He's just too good against righties.
Yeah, he definitely is, and he really does take a lot of those guys out of play. And I'm not using Marcus Stroman, but I'm not necessarily targeting against him either. I mean, you can certainly still look at guys like Napoli or Chisenhall, maybe a Kipnis if you want to be up and be different. I'm okay with that, but I'm not really going out of my way to target Stroman there.
You're not diving down to Abraham Almonte and saying he's a cash game play?
No, I don't think so.
All right.
You like any Indians?
Not especially. I don't really like this game in general for batting, so I think I'm just going to stay away from this one.
Yeah, it's weird, this 11-game slate here. I mean, there's only 2 games under an 8.5 total, and that's this game in Kansas City. So it's kind of an odd slate where you expect really a lot of runs.
With 2 teams that normally are like, oh, okay, this is where all the runs from the slate are coming from. Pretty wild.
Yeah, it definitely is. Dodgers and Reds next one here. Julio Urias versus Anthony Desclafani. Urias is a guy who I'm just kind of turned off on at this point just because of the pitch count and the limit they put him on. As far as Anthony Desclafani goes, I'm really looking to use Dodgers here. Desclafani is a guy who does struggle with left-handed batters, and obviously we know this Dodgers offense has a ton of them.
Yeah, back to Urias, though. I think it's fairly clear he's going to be something in the future. But for right now, I don't think we want to, do that dance, even at that cheap price. I feel like I've fallen for that before. And then he pitches 4 1/3 innings, and they pull him for no reason. And you're just like, come on. As far as Desclafani goes, I'm not terrified of the Dodgers here, but it's enough to sort of not make me want to pay, 9,100. So I don't think I'm not necessarily looking at any Dodgers unless you want to make maybe a Corey Seager sort of contrarian tournament move. But overall, not really a great matchup there.
I don't mind some of the Dodgers bets. I mean, obviously, Corey Seager is expensive as some of the other guys are, but Gonzalez's price is much more reasonable than what we've seen in the past. Same thing with Grandal, Reddick, even Jock Peterson, I don't mind. I can tell by the noises you're making over there that the Dodgers really aren't on your radar.
That was a soft hum. I'm surprised you heard that.
I heard it. I hear everything.
Only dogs were supposed to be able to hear that sound I just made.
Well,
to our dog, I'm trying to hit on the dog demographic here, and so I guess that's not good. I gotta change that. But I don't know. You named the guy Adrian Gonzalez. It is a good matchup for him. But am I going to change my view on him because of one night?
No, you shouldn't. But I just mean in terms of pricing, these Dodgers bets outside of Seager and Turner, much more reasonable than where they've been in the past.
Yeah, and I'll be interested to see if Josh Reddick's even in the lineup. He wasn't yesterday. So if he is, I mean, 3,500, that's a really nice price. But again, we've kind of been doing this dance with him too for a while where it's like, all right, great price, Reddick, and then a dud again. So it is a nice price. Certainly if you're stacking Dodgers, someone to look at.
Yeah, definitely. As far as the red side, I mean, I'm not really looking to go after anyone here. Adam Duvall at 3,800 is probably the cheapest. I'll go with the GPP play. I don't really find myself using Votto or Hamilton at their prices.
No, not lefty on lefty against, not a power arm, but Urias isn't, Mark Mulder out there,
What's one of the oddest comparisons?
I was trying to think of like Tom Glavine or Greg Maddux, but Mark Mulder popped out of my brain instead. So whatever,
it's just
man.
a funny, it's just such an odd name to come about. Red Sox and Tigers next year. Justin Verlander versus Eduardo Rodriguez. And when I first looked at this, I thought the pricing something was off with the Tigers here, but they're all priced really, really low. I mean, Kinsler, Cabrera, Martinez, JD Martinez is the most expensive option, but a lot of those bats are super cheap against Rodriguez, who really hasn't been the most consistent. Like, he has pitched better of late, but still home run prone. I mean, still is pretty average against right-handed bats right now. I like those prices in all formats now.
I'm with you. Obviously, we're not going at Rodriguez with the 5 over-under for the Tigers here. And in terms of, I mean, these prices are unreal. I'll take it. I mean, I'll take Cabrera in cash, sure.
It feels nice. It's a gift.
Yeah,
I mean,
this is a FanDuel-esque pricing. I mean, I feel a lot of tension off my chest after this. But in terms of the matchup itself, I mean, I think Kinsler's cash, Cabrera's cash, Victor Martinez, I think they're all cash game viable for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't even mind paying up for JD Martinez in outfield if you wanted to go that route. But obviously, I think more of a GPP move just given the price. But as you mentioned, with Kinsler, Cabrera, those cash game plays, as far as the prices, they're not going to kill you for salary.
I guess the question is, would you be diving down to Eric Ibar, or are you satisfied with the guys I mentioned as the values in that lineup?
I think I'm good right there with Kinsler and Cabrera. James McCann might be a guy who's in the lineup against the lefty. He's a guy who I definitely don't mind punting catcher with. He's one of the guys I'll take a look at if he's in the lineup.
Yeah.
As far as the Red Sox goes, I don't mind them as contrarian plays just because outside of Ortiz and Betts, they are pretty cheap. And we've seen them rip good pitching before. So I'm certainly okay with using them in a tournament fashion, but not cash game playable for me.
No, and I mean, Ortiz Bradley, I could think about doing something like that. Maybe even a Travis Shaw if you really want to get weird. But overall, it's kind of just stick with tournaments. Ortiz is fine. Obviously, you're playing him against any righty. Even Verlander's been pitching solid. But yeah, not a good time for Verlander to run into the Red Sox. We've seen what they've been doing the last few days against some righties. So this is kind of the danger zone. Is Verlander a contrarian play at this point? I wonder what his ownership's going to be.
He's cheaper. I think that both sides you can argue either or. I really think you can take a look at Verlander, but you also can take a look at the bats for low ownership. Yep. And on an 11-game slate, it is something that you can kind of dive into, mix and match, and get some low ownership with. Well, I have a ton of exposure to either. I probably won't have any Verlander exposure, but I probably will have maybe a little bit of the Red Sox bats in there.
Yeah, agree. That's probably where I'll end up as well.
Yeah. Rangers and Rays next year, Martin Perez versus Drew Smyly. This game I think is actually kind of underrated for offense. Two lefties that, I mean, Smiley's been hit or miss. You also got a couple of left-handed hitters or left-handed mashers on here, like an Evan Longoria, like an Adrian Beltre. I mean, I could definitely see some runs being scored in this game here.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the little hopscotch 2-4-6 Rangers stack. Desmond, Beltre, Lucroy. I think that could be some nice returns there against Smyly. As far as this offense in general, I guess I can understand why it's only 4 runs, but I think those guys all equally have home run potential in this matchup.
Yeah, definitely do. And Ian Desmond's price is really nice at 4K against the lefty. I really like that. And you can even punt to Delano to Shields if you wanted to at 2,800. So it's a good mix of value. As you mentioned, Beltray, Lucroy in the back end. I definitely don't mind those guys there.
I think someone like had a camera of me like at 6 o'clock the last few days trying to make these lineups, and they saw the strain on my face, and they're like, you know what? We're gonna loosen up this salary a little bit here. We're stressing our users a little too much here.
It does feel a little lighter today for sure. As far as the Rays go, I mean, Evan Longoria is obviously in play. And then you kind of dive into a lot of punt plays, like a Matt Duffy, like a Matuk, like a Tim Beckham, like a Souza. Those are kind of GPP moves. I think the Rays are more of a GPP value team where you're working them in and out and trying to get some other high-priced bats or high-priced pitching in. That's how I see them being used.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously Matuk 2,200. If you can get him batting fifth against Perez, I mean, you'll take that. You'll take the odds of that in a tournament. As far as even if they're batting later in the lineup, I kind of like Beckham and Souza as sort of higher end options than him, obviously. But yeah, those are kind of nice tournament guys for sure.
Yeah, definitely for the price tag. There's really little risk.
Mm-hmm.
Astros and Orioles, Giovanni Gallardo versus Dallas Keuchel, and looking at the Astros here, I like them quite a bit. I think they are worth certainly the prices. Giovanni Gallardo has just been awful against both sides of the plate. Really 1 through 4 there, Springer, Bregman, Altuve, Correa. I don't mind grabbing an Astro stack there. You know, just given that we are working with some nice value today for once, so you can definitely do that.
Yeah, and Bregman, I mean, normally the unheralded guy sort of those 4 names you mentioned, but I mean, he's been hot of late, so gets another good matchup here. Don't mind that for 44. Yeah, Springer priced up compared to the last few days. He was sort of the value there for a few days in a row, but yeah, I'm okay with that 4-person stack. And I mean, I guess we can't forget about Evan Gattis either.
No, I definitely don't think so. Him behind the dish at 4K, I'm certainly okay with. And outside that, I mean, you can look at Hernandez and Reed. Like, I'm certainly actually not afraid of going down this lineup because I do expect Houston to put up really a ton of runs on Gallardo.
Yep, I agree. This could be like Barrios the other day, where he just lasts like 3 innings and the manager's just like, all right, dude, we get it. Like, you're just not going to get any of these guys out. Let's just move on.
Or just like this game in general, this series. I mean, the series is
unbelievable for hitting.
So yeah, I think we'll cap it off with a Sunday cap off of a lot of runs in really both sides here because I don't feel comfortable using Keuchel on the road against this Baltimore team. And this Baltimore team obviously hasn't been good against lefties, but Keuchel's been so up and down, especially on the road. I don't mind the Adam Jones, the Jonathan Scope prices. I mean, even Machado and Trumbo are certainly reasonable as well.
Yeah, I like taking gambles on Keuchel sometimes. This just doesn't feel like the time to sort of go out on that limb. It's really forcing it to think he's going to get through, Trumbo, Machado, and Jones like 3 times just totally unscathed. So I'm fading for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, Orioles are probably more GPP plays for me than cash games. I kind of rather use some other options there in cash games. So I think for consistency wise, they're more just pivoted for tournaments.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Cardinals and Phillies next here. Vince Velasquez versus Mike Leake. I feel like obviously anyone against the Phillies is certainly worth a look, but I just feel like Mike Leake's a trap. I actually like some of these Phillies prices against him, like a Mike Franco. Ryan Howard's been red hot. He's actually been pre-Subway commercial Ryan Howard good. Like, that's how he's been.
There you go. Yeah. Those were the good old days for Ryan Howard. I feel like he looks like he has that commercial just running on his mantle, and he just watches it before he goes to bed. And he's like, yeah, I used to hit like 35 homers a year.
Those 2 to 3 years, and then I stopped.
That's what big contracts do to you. Yeah, I mean, these Phillies, they don't ever give us a break on these prices, that's for sure. But I'm not touching Leake, I don't think, even at 54. Even if the cafe value tells me to, and even if he has a good start, I don't care. I'm not doing it. Can't make me.
No, I'm definitely with you. As far as Velasquez goes, I'm not really looking to use him either. I don't mind Carpenter. I don't mind Brandon Moss as far as GPP plays. Carpenter's fine cash game option. Moss is more GPP.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Outside of that, I mean, I can't get behind any of these guys. I'm not the biggest fan of picking on Velasquez, even though he has had some blown up starts of late. But Cardinals have just been pretty disappointing. I think outside of really those two names, maybe even a Piscotty at 39, it's all I need to really do on this slate.
I'm in agreement. I will give one note though that in my GPPs yesterday, Carpenter and Moss were like 2 and 3% owned. So I mean, if you can get those odds, then maybe you want to throw a Carpenter share or two in there. But yeah, overall, I don't love this matchup.
Yeah, I don't either. Overall, that game, I mean, outside the couple Phillies bats in the middle of the order and Carpenter, Moss, that's pretty much about it.
I'd love Odubel Herrera if he wasn't 5K.
Yeah, I would too, but we didn't get that discount.
No.
Nationals and Braves, Gio Gonzalez versus Joe De La Cruz. And Gio Gonzalez, I mean, lefties against the Braves have certainly always been in play. Gio Gonzalez has been kind of consistent of late. I mean, just under a 3 RA in the second half, holding hitters to a 278 WOBA. Obviously, the Braves against lefties is certainly one to exploit. 30th in WOBA, 20% strikeout rate. I'm okay with using Gonzalez there.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I like it. I'm a little more afraid of the Braves than I was the first, 100 games of the year, but I still think this is an exploitable matchup for him. It's just like you said. I mean, even on these days when they try to move Adonis Garcia up in the lineup or, Tyler Flowers or whatever, they're still just sort of putting a thin veil over this lefty-heavy lineup, and it just doesn't seem to work most of the time. So I'm in on Gio. Even at that price, I'm okay with.
Yeah, definitely. And you got to expect to get some run support off of De La Cruz. Braves projected for under 4 runs, Nationals for over 4.5. You look at De La Cruz, pretty average against both sides of the plate. I always don't mind the Nationals here, especially when they're on the road and kind of behind a lot of other offenses, because you can really target away and get them at a decent ownership, especially guys like Ramos, Trey Turner, now Murphy Harper.
Yeah, I think Murphy Harper's becoming sort of a sneaky stack because there's so many more appealing matchups most days, but certainly love those guys against righties, especially a weaker righty. So as you mentioned, Wilson Ramos, a solid play too.
Yep, definitely. Marlins and Pirates next year, Jose Urena versus Ryan Vogelsong. 2 cheap arms, but I'm not really a big fan of using them. I think guys like, Gio Gonzalez, I even think Jose Quintana, those type of options. So it's really about as cheap as I'm going tonight. I don't really feel like I need to dive down into the pits of these arms.
Oh, Vogelsong definitely has lived. Like if he were like an insect or something, he'd definitely like live in your armpits or something. I don't know. I just don't want to play. I just want to X these teams out. If I went into the optimizer, I would X those 2 teams out just because I don't want to deal with it. Is that to say the Pirates don't have a good matchup? No, they absolutely do. Gregory Polanco, I like him quite a bit in that matchup. Even a David Freese, I'm okay with those 2. But overall, I just don't want to get involved with this Pirates lineup.
No, I'm definitely in agreement. I mean, Marte and McCutchen both priced up quite a bit. Obviously, it is a friendly matchup. I don't mind it in GPPs just because I think, as you were kind of indicating, you're sick of playing the Pirates, which I am too, and I think a lot of us are. So
right.
I'm okay with the GPP move with some of those bats.
Let me say this. I would welcome someone. You know what? If you want to play that and it pays off for you, I'll be happy. Like if I don't win because the Pirates – we're GPP winners, I'd root for that guy and say, hey, you know what? That guy had some cojones picking them.
Yeah, I mean, you even toss in a Josh Harrison for value leading off. It's not a bad stack there. There's some potential against Urena.
Certainly not a bad stack.
As far as the Marlins go, I mean, I don't like the prices of Yelich and Gordon, even though those are the ones I want to exploit, just because Vogelsong is bad against left-handed bats. In a GPP sense, I'm still okay paying it. But in cash games, I think I'll kind of roll elsewhere.
It was sort of disappointing because we never got the D. Gordon discount when he came back. It was just automatically priced up huge against righties. So, I mean, this is what you're getting. So, I mean, I'm okay with the Yelich Gordon once again. I like that combo, but it's certainly more of a deep tournament move than anything else.
Yeah, it definitely is. Next game here, you got the White Sox and A's, Jose Quintana versus Zach Neal. Quintana, one of the more consistent arms on the slate. And once again, because we are diving into a slate where there really isn't a ton of pitching options, I'm certainly cool with Quintana. I mean, he's handled himself really well at home. Even though the strikeout upside really isn't there for him, I still do think he finds himself around 5 to 6. And he's been a guy, I mean, he's been in the second half the White Sox best pitcher for sure.
Yeah, and so the way I kind of looked at Sale yesterday, like if things go correctly according to plan, both him and Quintana should be able to get through the A's lineup without much trouble. But there could be some turbulence along the way, especially with the front of that lineup. So I do like Quintana, especially like you mentioned with slate considered. But at the same time, I will say I don't mind the Smolinskis of the world for 3K.
Yeah, I'm definitely in agreement. I mean, I'm going to be rolling out Quintana. You look at this A's team, 20th in WOBA against lefties. They haven't really been that great. Not a big strikeout rate, but when you get Marcus Semien and Jake Smolinski with their splits against left-handers in that ballpark at those prices, even tossing a Danny Valencia, I am, in favor of them as well. It is one of those things where, obviously I don't think Quintana's going to have a blow-up start, but, 2 to 3 earned runs, quality start. If you want to still get some exposure to Semien and those other two, I'm fine with that.
Right. I expect him to strike out Chad Pinder and Bruce Maxwell pretty easily, though. That was mean. That was mean.
It's fair, though.
Yeah, it was fair. Very fair.
As far as on the other side, Zach Neal going up against this White Sox offense that's really cheap. Yeah, damn it, man. I'm so sick of the White Sox.
So sick of it, man. And the A's are really trying to, shoehorn us into playing them. But I'm not – I don't know. I mean, it's good. Like Melky Cabrera, that's a good play. Jose Abreu, I like it. Adam Eaton, I like it. But
the prices make him really attractive.
That it really does. Especially, I like Justin Morneau. I mean, Todd Frazier. Realistically, if there hadn't been a game played this year and I was just looking at the slate, I'd be like, oh, there's a 4-person stack in this here. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, if we came in with an open mind, which we're not, we'd be fine with it. But I mean, you do look at Neal. I mean, against lefties really hasn't been that great. He's allowed a lot of home runs. Has struggled a little bit on the road and his limited starts in the major leagues. So I am okay with using an Eaton, Cabrera, Morneau. I am fine with that. And even with the Abreu and Frazier, I'm certainly fine playing those guys. But just GPPs, I can't trust them in cash games.
No, I agree. But you look at the 3 through 6 with Cabrera to Frazier. I mean, they're all the only one over 35 is Abreu. You're saving a ton, and you can probably still fit in some really other really expensive stacks. So I think that's a reasonable way to go in a tournament, like you mentioned. Yeah,
definitely agree. Twins and Royals next year. Irvin Santana versus Danny Duffy. Obviously, Danny Duffy is in the midst of a really hot stretch, and I'm not writing him off. I don't like the price tag. I will make that known. And this is the other game with the 7.5 over/under. So one of the 2 games here, Danny Duffy is pitching in. This is a boom or bust situation, but I actually could see Duffy having a really high strikeout game here, just because Minnesota is extremely strikeout prone.
I agree. The recent Twins kind of make us forget about how they were for quite a while there, but. I mean, this is a Duffy sort of high upside matchup to me, especially sort of with the strikeout proneness like you mentioned. 12.9's expensive for sure, but it's certainly in cash gameplay for me.
Yeah, you look at Duffy. I mean, over his last 50 innings, he's averaging a strikeout per inning, 2.15 ERA. Sits as a nice 158 home favorite in that ballpark. I'm certainly okay with it. And on the other side, I'm not looking to use Irvin Santana. I'm not really looking to use any hitters from this game, actually. I think this is one I can kind of stay away from.
Yeah. I've kind of been liking these Royals in this series so far, but Santana's not really the guy you want to mess with sort of the low upside Royals, especially in a non-stack situation. So I'm probably just fading them.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, we've already talked about good value with some of these other guys like White Sox, like Tigers. we can kind of roll with those guys. I feel much more comfortable using them than the Royals.
Agreed.
Yankees and Angels next here. Julio Chassin versus Chad Green. Pretty big over-under here on both sides. And obviously Chassin, his struggles are with lefties. 365 WOBA, 1.42 runs per nine. I don't say this often, but Gardner Ellsbury, they're in play for me, and even Gary Sanchez, who, 4,400 now. He's crept up there.
Yeah, no, we talked about this yesterday. It was gonna happen. We enjoyed our last day. It was fun. But yeah, Gary will never be that cheap, potentially ever again. Yeah, no, I like him. I think you can definitely go in a bunch of different ways with this lineup, but overall, it's still the Yankees. They're kind of like the White Sox to me, where I just don't expect them to be very good at any point since the Beltran trade.
Yeah, I don't either. And obviously in that ballpark, it is a little bit of a downgrade. I don't mind one or two of them as far as one-offs go. I'm okay with that. And on the Angels side, Cole Calhoun at 3,100 is certainly intriguing. I mean, we do have just kind of a minimal sample size for Green, but has struggled with lefties. And he's even given up a ton of hard ball contact to right-handers. Obviously, he's coming off of that Blue Jay start, but I actually don't mind using like a Pujols or a Calhoun. Trout still, I can't get behind paying his price.
Oh, well, I mean, Pujols and Calhoun have actually been pretty decent prices for the last few days. I don't mind this Calhoun, like you mentioned, at 31 or Pujols at 32. I think those are low enough to where it's starting to creep into, okay, I can deal with this. When they were at like 4K or 3,800, it was like, I don't trust these guys. But now it's just kind of like, all right, YOLO in a tournament. I'm in on Cole Calhoun until he's, back up to 37, 38.
Yeah, I am too. And outside of that, I don't feel the need to kind of dive down anywhere else in that line. We always kind of joke around about the later half. It's even more than the later half. It's creeping 4 through 9. 70% of that lineup is below 2,500.
No, it is. I don't know how this happened, but it slowly creeped up over the last month. And now it's just, I mean, it used to be like, all right, now it's 4 through 9 of just, ew. Just get out of here. I'm sorry, Jet. I know you're listening, Jet. I don't mean that to you personally. I'm just speaking to the bigger piece of the pie,
Yeah, sorry, Jet Bandy. We do love you. Next time you play a lefty, hopefully you're actually in the lineup at 7:05 before you jump back out and come back in an hour later. I'm still frustrated.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
It was. But that's going to wrap things up with the DraftKings Daily Trot. Be sure to check out dailyfantasycafe.com for all our great tools and content.